Alrighty, welcome back to Markiplier. Maybe if I just call myself somebody else, maybe that'll get people to join in on the Let's Play madness. Why is Squirrel's sprite the way it is on the menu a second ago? Looks nothing like him. I mean, I understand they've only got so many sprites to work with, but I think they could have tried to make it a little more accurate, I don't know. Probably only so much space on the old GBC. You gotta work with those limitations. I do enjoy the Gen 1 Gym Leader theme, more so than any of those other crappy Gym Leader themes. You probably can't even think of other ones, can you? 'Cause they sucked that much. Just completely forgettable. Unlike this one. Picking Squirtle was a good move for this first gym. You can just blast your way right through it. Not like when I originally played Pokemon Red back in the day. I went with Charmander originally, way back when, and this fight was pretty much impossible. Because not only was Charmander not effective, but there weren't really any wild Pokemon you could catch either that would really be, effective. There's really no grass types or water types at this point. Was fighting effective against a rock in the first gen? I do not know. The mechanics have changed so much over the years, I don't know how anybody keeps track of this shit. Is that our first TM in this playthrough? Very well could be. Bide. Okay, I was just about to ask, what is the TM, by the way? Yeah, Bide was just a terrifying move if you had Charmander as your starter. Yes, indeed. I'm just thinking in the remakes of this, Fire Red and Leaf Green, they added the running shoes, and the thing was that the running shoes would be retroactively applied to a game where they weren't meant to be there, so that's gonna mess up the pacing, because it's still the same world of Red and Blue, where the game was paced according to the regular walking speed, but I mean, I guess it didn't affect things too much, so honestly, who cares? Let's give Toby Keith some exercise. Raspberry? You know what that's a reference to? Let's see. So I saw a clip of the Pokemon anime recently. It was a relatively recent scene. I mean, it was probably like 10 years ago, but by my standards, that's pretty recent. Anyway, they had like the sad episode where the dog Pokemon was sick and dying, and they had like this sort of sad sequence where they met with it in heaven, and it made its Pokemon noises, and just thinking it kind of takes away from the emotional impact of it when you remember that it's probably just Sean Schemmel making dog noises into a microphone. I mean, pretty much anything can be broken down into parts like I'm saying, but okay, I'm getting off track. You guys probably don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's just, I don't know, I'm in this headspace where I have to dissect everything, and then I can't enjoy things anymore because I think too much about the components that make them up rather than the finished product. It's just like there was an old Mark Twain, not quite a poem, but some kind of writing by Mark Twain, and he was saying, he compared the doctor who can't appreciate the beauty of a woman because he can only see medical deformities and imperfections, and that's out there. Gosh, you probably weren't expecting to hear that kind of reference on this channel, were you? Mark Twain in a Pokemon Let's Play? What next? I'd like to think I am pretty well versed in the world of writing, I guess. I was always very good at my my writing classes in school, and I got to get put in the writing classes of the grade ahead of me in high school, so I was like super young compared to everybody else, but even then I still did better than just about everybody else in there. I was a smart cookie back then. Not so much anymore though. Now I'm just as dumb and ugly and stupid as everybody else. That's the way she goes. I had a teacher once who warned me about exactly this. The second they hand you your diploma, your brain just goes pfft, never to return. Is there stuff down here? Oh, I think this was the spot where in Twitch Plays Pokemon they had that thing with the ledge, and they spent maybe like probably a full day just trying to get around that same ledge, and didn't seem possible, but they managed to make it happen. You know, the whole purpose of Twitch Plays Pokemon was just to sort of experiment to see if it was actually possible to beat the game when it's just a series of commands from different people. And even though they did technically win, I wouldn't consider it, possible to beat the game that way, because they had to implement like a voting system when they got to the Silph Co building, because there was just no way to progress. The puzzle was simply not doable when the commands are that sporadic. So I guess the answer to the ultimate question is no, it isn't possible to beat Pokemon with that many, what's the word I'm looking for? Not cooks in the pot. Too many Indians and too many chiefs. How the heck does that saying go? Anyway, the overall question of is it possible is no, it isn't possible, because they had to make changes midway through to make it possible. Yes, indeed. They still do those types of Twitch Plays Pokemon things, mainly on YouTube now, and it's not quite the same because people get all obsessive and they want to have control over it, and the people who do those things really miss the point of how it's supposed to be chaotic and random, and they'll usually just reset to the last save state if even the smallest thing goes differently than how they want it. If they didn't get the right move due to a misinput, and they'll just start the whole thing over, and everything's gotta be exact, and that clearly wasn't what they were going for. Stupid assholes. But what are you gonna do? They tried to do Fish Plays Pokemon also, where they just had a stream of a goldfish in a bowl, and which quadrant of the bowl it would swim to would determine what happened, like which button would be pressed, and I think the fish died. I made a joke on some website about how next they should have the band Fish Play Pokemon, but I don't think anyone really appreciated that. It's just a comment that was lost in the void. You know how it is. So here's a question for your consideration. Do you think the majority of Pokemon fans are people in their late 20s and early 30s who experienced it from the beginning? Or are the majority of fans people who are relatively new to the Pokemon experience? Or is the fan base distributed evenly amongst the age demographics because new people are coming in with each new iteration? Something to think about. I don't think there truly is an answer to that question. I mean, I'm sure there's some marketing data on that out there somewhere, but truly I think that's a bit too vague to know. Because there's still lots of adult Pokemon fans out there. Say what you will about their mental health, but because I ran into a lot of them during the whole Pokemon Sword and Shield debacle, and just these sad, lonely adults that just get so upset about how their Pokemon game's not the way they want it to be. And I'll admit the game itself was pretty underdeveloped, but I don't think it really warranted the reaction that it got on Reddit, and how everybody was so upset. And It's just goddamn ridiculous. It's like something out of a South Park episode. I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch if South Park had made an episode where there's like a fat 40-year-old neckbeard at a game store and he sees Ike trying to buy the new Chimpokomon game, and he tries to explain to him that you shouldn't buy that because it only has 400 characters in it instead of 800. That could very easily become a South Park plotline. Reality is stranger than fiction, you know, that's the saying. Dear. Let's see, and now they're doing the DLC for Sword and Shield, and they won't refund you if you buy the wrong one, because there's 2 versions of the DLC, one for each version of the game, and it just gets worse and worse. But let's try to focus on the game at hand here. Evidently that's pretty difficult to do, and now I can't think of anything to say. Come on, think harder, damn it, you can do it. So here's a thought. I saw just a YouTube video in my recommendation about how on Family Guy they're gonna get a new voice actor for Cleveland, because they want someone who's maybe I shouldn't be saying this on this channel. There's no good way for me to get the point across. Anyway, I just find that kinda odd. Because, I've seen behind the scenes clips of Family Guy, and when you see the white guy who voices Cleveland just like standing there at the microphone, suddenly his character makes a whole lot of sense when you see that voice coming out of a white dude, but when it's actually in the show, there's just something that's kind of lost in translation, and the character of Cleveland isn't very funny. Am I making any sense right now? I don't think I am. Should I even keep this episode? I'm starting to debate that. Well, thankfully nobody actually watches this show, so I probably won't get in trouble for trashing the Pokemon fans and saying that Cleveland isn't a particularly funny character on Family Guy. Yeah, no one's gonna know, except me.